Welcome to the Networking with Michelle podcast, the show dedicated on providing you the how-tos of marketing and networking strategies. Here we believe in the Jim Rohn quote, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Networking with Michelle. I'm your host, Michelle Gomez. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who has completed a survey. Today is the last day. Yes, today, the 8th, is the last day for you to do the survey. So if you go to michellegomez.com/survey, it will be linked in the show notes. You can complete the survey. I will enter your name into the drawing. I'll pick a random winner. That winner has a chance to receive the book Build a Dream Network by J. Kelly Hoey. And I interviewed her on episode 76, another awesome interview, so check that out. But yeah, it's a great book, has pictures. We're never too old for pictures, right? But we talked about networking, right? Not just networking by attending events, but how do we create sustainable relationships? And I read the book via Kindle, and I actually have the physical book. So I want to give that book to you. So once again, complete the survey, michellegomez.com/survey. I'll enter your name into a drawing. I'm going to select a name, and from that, the winner will receive the book, Build a Dream Network by J. Kelly Hoey. Thank you for all of those that have completed it. I'm reviewing them every day, every time one comes in. Their survey is going to help me gauge what you want to hear on this show, right? What topics do we need to discuss? The type of people I need to bring in to have sponsors or no sponsors, what kind of sponsors, what kind of products and brands do you already buy? That way I make sure that I'm aligned with everything that you're interested in, right? From the topics to possible sponsorships, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. But I just want to make sure that I'm constantly, continuously in a state of value to you when you're listening to this show. So once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for those who completed the survey. Thank you for those that plan on completing the survey. And just thank you, thank you, thank you. So today is a good episode. I'm so excited about this episode, bringing it to you. Once again, I think it's at the right time as I've decided to bring in a money coach. Yes, a money coach. Dr. Cozette M, she has done it all. She knows money inside out. Personal finance, business, corporate America, anything money, accounting, finance, her name is all over it. And it was an absolute pleasure to speak to her. And some of the things that we talked about today, I thought was very, very pivotal for people, my age, our age. I'll just say hovering over 30, whether it's 28, 32. But we, young professionals, we're still in that state where we're educated, we've accomplished a few things, but we're in the midst of a whole lot of transition, right? Whether it's completing grad school, whether it's leveling up into managerial positions, maybe even leaving corporate to start a business, getting married, having children, buying a house, all of these things, right? And then our parents are getting older, right? So how are we taking care of all of this? And at the end of the day, we do need money to do a lot of these things. And the opportunity to talk to Dr. White from, we talked about when's the right time to have the conversation with our partner about money, okay? Now that could be a whole nother episode by itself, but we addressed that. What's the best way to manage our taxes through the year for tax season? Good debt versus bad debt. How do we pay off our debt, right? What is the best strategy to take care of that? When do we start saving and investing? Do we do all of this while we're paying our debt? Or do we take care of 1, 2, 3? As well as legacy. How do we get to that point that we are building a legacy, whether it's just for your family or it's your community, right? How do we build a legacy, and what strategies, what steps do we have to put in place to create that legacy? Look, you're going to enjoy this episode, all right? I'm telling you right now, one, if you're sitting down, take notes. I always tell you want to take notes, okay? Take notes. And then if you're driving or working out, I'm letting you know you can either pause it, listen to it when you're sitting down, or you're just going to have to listen to it again. But you definitely need to take notes, right? This episode is all about taking action, right? It's about thinking and executing. And I really hope you enjoy this episode. And once again, let's ask, let's address these tough questions, these tough topics, and money is definitely one of those. So, without further ado, this episode is brought to you by Line 25 Consulting. Check that out, line25consulting.com. Without further ado, Dr. Cozette White. Hey everyone, I am here with our special guest, Dr. Cozette White. She is a money coach. Dr. White, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. How are you?
Doing great. So, money, right?
Yes, the thing that no one likes to talk about, but we need it. It's a
Yeah,
tool.
absolutely, right? We love it, we need it, but I don't want to talk about my finances. I don't want to deal with my taxes. So we're going to discuss all of that today. So I'm very grateful for you to be here. It's perfect timing. But how did you get on this journey of becoming a money coach and all things finance?
That's a really good question. And as I share with folks when they ask me that question, for me, it started some time ago. I had a mentor growing up. I had a mentor in high school, Mrs. Paramore from Banning High School, who, I was lost. I was one of those kids that was lost. And when it got time to fill out that paperwork for going to school, she advised me to take an accounting course in high school. And of course, I did. And I've been on that journey since. I have not veered to the left or veered to the right. I stayed on path. I stayed on course. They say focus, follow one course until successful. Well, I think that's what I did. I just stayed on the path of accounting and became very passionate about what I do and decided that I wanted to do this on my own and help others, empower others, and allow others to know that you can have the freedom, the flexibility, and leave a legacy, and you can clear yourself from debt. So that's how I got on the path, and I'm truly passionate about what I do. Truly, truly.
Good. Now, accounting in high school, I don't know if that's good or bad because I definitely didn't want to take it to get this degree I have or my MBA
Well,
program.
in high school, I think Mrs. Paramore's class was more one of those business courses because I remember, and I'm probably dating myself, but I took a typing class. Yes, I took a typing class, um, and it probably was more in the bookkeeping, but it was some type of business class. But that's what she steered me into accounting. She said that I would always have a job if I was an accountant, and I could do so much with it.
Absolutely. But, I think that's the best because you're starting at a blank state, a blank slate because I got a finance degree and I started working in banking. So when it came to take an accounting course, I was all kinds of backwards because I was so I was so used to banking, credits, and debits. So I think I wish I had the opportunity to take a business course in high school because it would have been from scratch.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, what we learn in school is a little different from the real world. You learn the basics, you learn the text part about it, but once you get out there in the real world, every organization does it a little different. Yeah, some things are black and white; they don't change, but the basic, the concept, the gap, But yeah, I love it.
So what part of finance and accounting do you actually focus on, about your business, and how did you become the actual money coach?
Okay, yes, I was coined the money coach by my clients. My clients usually uh, they just started calling me the money coach, and I went with it and ran. So that's how I've become the money coach. But I focus on more. I started my career. I spent 20 years in corporate America, so I focused on the business aspect of things, the financial statements, the analysis, the operational budgets, all the stuff that most folks hate to do when they think about numbers. So that's where I actually started, and that's where I help the business owners grow, looking at metrics and looking at ways to streamline their operational expenses and cut numbers and cut numbers, but yet still grow grow into a profitable business, look at their margins, their profit margins and whatnot. So that's really what I love to do. I also do the personal finance side of it because, I simply walk the walk and talk the talk. I had my financial struggles at some point in one of my chapters in my life, as I like to say. So I'm able to assist and empower and educate others so that they don't have to overcome some of the same struggles that I did with my personal finances at a period of time in my life. So, and also, when we talk about what is it that I do, tax strategy, helping individuals maximize their taxes and or reduce that tax liability.
Okay. And we're going to talk about taxes in a bit. But first, can you tell us the importance of why we need to have a relationship with money, whether it's personally or professionally? Because as we stated earlier, it's kind of, we need it. We know we need it because it's a tool, but it's still taboo that we don't want to talk about it among our friends, our partners. If it's Friday night, I definitely don't want to look at my bank account Monday morning.
Okay.
But how
Okay.
important is that relationship with money?
Well, good question. Having a relationship with your money, first of all, I like to say that money is just a tool. Money is a tool that it will allow us to have various options. And the more tools and the more gadgets we have, the more we can do. The more stations we have on direct TV or whatever cable station we have, the more entertaining we can do. So money is the same thing. It's a tool. The more tools we have, the more we can play. It allows us the freedom. It allows us flexibility. It allows us to do some of the things that we want to do, but sometimes we cannot afford to do them because it doesn't work into the budget. But when we allow ourselves to clear our minds and get rid of some of the limited beliefs that we may have about money, and or clear our mind and rethink through how we were conditioned growing up, whether that's our environment dictates our money situation, so to speak. And I say that in a sense of, for myself, I grew up in a home where they use credit cards a lot. And my parents were deceased at an early age. So I grew up with my aunts who were 10, 12 years older than me. So it wasn't a huge gap, but there was like big sister. And they always pulled out credit cards. And so that's what I knew growing up. So when I got in college, that's what I picked up, credit cards, and started spending them and using them till I started getting those bills. So it's truly, truly important to have a relationship and to understand why we need our money, how to use our money, how to be responsible with our money, and to have that relationship such that you can have a cohesive dialogue, a cohesive conversation, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with someone that you are in a position, or you're committing yourself to start a relationship, a marriage. You want to be able to have that conversation. It's not an easy conversation. It is not an easy conversation, but it is one that must take place.
And I guess, how early should we have that conversation if we are in a relationship?
Well, these are all questions that are kind of hitting home because I'm in a relationship.
Hey, we address the tough questions here.
Well, I think, when it's everything is all about timing. So I think communication is vital and honesty is vital. And if you see that your relationship is moving into that direction, then it's appropriate to have that conversation. Not just at any time, too. You need to make sure that both parties are open and willing and able to have that mature conversation, because you putting it all on the table at that point. Seriously, you're laying it out. How do you save? Do you believe in saving? Are you a spontaneous shopper? Do you like to plan? You know, do you? Everybody's different, and it's important to know this going into the game. Just like a football game, a basketball game, they know the plays, they know how they lay it out. So you got to lay it out. Is this something you want to deal with? you know I have a client, believe it or not. It's a man. He has 200 pair of shoes. And so when they told me that they were in financial problem and they were both talking and they said somebody likes to spend, I just looked at the woman because, it was just I thought it was the woman, but it was not. It was him. 200 pair of shoes. But, Michelle, you know what he told me? He said that when he was growing up, he didn't have.
Yeah, I've
He
heard
said
that before.
he said he was like lack of. So he felt that because as a child he was deprived, he felt he was deprived when he began to working, and when he found himself in a better situation, he said he was going to buy whatever he could. But you know what that says, Michelle? He has a 4-year-old. So what is that telling the 4-year-old? That's telling the 4-year-old that you can go out and buy, and it's not setting a good example for him.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And then for him to be outside of the norm, because you do think of a woman being at least a shopaholic, not necessarily the spender, but the person that's going to spend when it comes to clothes and shoes and accessories.
Right, but let's think about it. What could you do with 200 pair of shoes? And then let's just throw a number out. Let's say those shoes cost $100, $200. You could invest in some stock, and he didn't have a place to store all those. He said he had to have a storage unit. So come on, you paying for a storage unit, 200, let's just say $200 times 200 pair of shoes. Come on, you guys, do the math. What could you really do with that? You could do a lot. You can invest in Nike stock. Come on.
True. And then the storage unit's an extra bill. Yeah. All right. So it's the middle of tax season. A lot of us have probably already filed our taxes. Some of us are in the middle of it. Some of us are trying to prolong it as long as possible, where I've been guilty of that. I guess, what is the best way to manage tax season throughout the year and not waiting between that 6 to 8 week period that we usually have?
Okay, I love that question because this is the time where I educate those that come in my office and see me. Uh, Tax planning is strategic. It's something that you need to be doing all year long. It's not something that you do between December and April, because at that point it may be too late to really strategically change the plan. If you're trying to get money back, you should be trying to put together a plan throughout the year as to how you can maximize your refund and minimize the liability that you may owe Uncle Sam. So, with that being said, as business owners, we need to make sure that we are doing our books on a regular basis. We need to make sure that we have an accountant in place, or if we don't have the funds to go out and hire someone to do our books, we need to make sure that we're managing our books at home ourselves or at the business ourselves. There's a lot of different tools that you can use, and the most popular, of course, is QuickBooks, but there's other tools that business owners can use to manage and track their income and their expenses, such that when tax season rolls around, everything is ready to go. You have a profit and loss statement, also known as an income statement or a P&L, that you can hand over to your CPA, your accountant, your bookkeeper, whoever in the beginning of the year to do your taxes. But if you wait like several that I see who don't have good practices, and they are scrambling to download bank statements and pull off all their expenses and get it all together, categorize everything by advertising, office expenses, commission, repairs and maintenance, utilities, travel, entertainment, you name it, then it's not good. It's not good for a number of reasons, Michelle, because as a business owner, you should be managing where your money is going throughout the year. Just like, again, I'm going to go back to the basketball players and the football players. In the middle, it's time out and they relook at the game strategy, the plan. Okay, we're going to throw the ball over here. We're going to take it down this yard. We're going to do this. We want our business owners to do the same thing. We want you to be in a position so that after first quarter, you're like, oh gosh, I was anticipating making 50K. I'm only at 10. What am I doing wrong? You know, my overhead is killing me. What can I cut? How can you manage? How do you know what's going on if you only look at it once a year? You know, how do you know what tax savings you could be implementing? How do you know any of it? You don't, because you're not planning for it. So you need to plan all year long, and if you don't have the if you're not doing it, at least do it quarterly, you all. At least take a look at your numbers quarterly. And that goes the same for our personal finances, you all. Strategically plan. Think about 401k. Are you taking out enough 401k so that that will reduce your taxable income? Are you leaving money on the table? Are you putting money away into a Roth where you can write that off? Are you making your contributions so that you have that receipt at tax year to show to your tax preparer? All these things are important strategies that we need to implement and plan accordingly so that come tax time, we're maximizing options that we possibly can. And I'm talking about not talking about simply just the organizational side of it. I'm talking about the planning side of it. Planning is not just putting paperwork together. It's looking at strategically, how can I move this money around, maximize my money, but still not pay Uncle Sam.
Right. You mentioned QuickBooks earlier. Do you have any other favorite resources, apps, or tools that you use?
Well, the QuickBooks and Excel, I'm like really good at Excel, so I use Excel, the macros and whatnot to generate a lot of reports. But there are other tools out there. There's Xero. I guess it's Xero. There's a couple of other ones that I'm at loss for words for right now of the names. But if you Google accounting software for business owners, a slew of them will come up for you. But I'm very quick to say QuickBooks because I use it on a regular basis. It's user friendly, it's economically feasible for most business owners. You can run reports and send them directly to your CPA, accountant, whomever is handling your books. You can run you can track expenses. You could do a lot in there. You can make a mistake and go back and correct it, even if you don't know anything about accounting per se.
For our business owners, can you tell us when is a good time? Um, when do we need a bookkeeper and when do we need an actual CPA?
Okay, that's a really good question as well. The difference between the two is pretty much the credentials and the experience and the years, besides the fact that with a CPA, you are going to be paying more because of their experience and their knowledge. Um, I think it's really up to the business owner. When you grow, let me not, it is up to the business owner. But when you reach a sizable amount in your revenues and they exceed a certain threshold, then you may want to consider converting over to a CPA. I will say this. There are a lot of great, and I'm saying this because I'm in the field, but there are a lot of great individuals that may not necessarily have the three letters of CP and A behind their name, but they're great individuals at what they do. They have the knowledge, they have the skill set. The important thing to my business owners out there who are listening to this call is to make sure that you do your research. Make sure that you ask for referrals. Make sure that you check with the Better Business Bureau. Make sure that you check with some of the local agencies in your city, your state, and make sure that this individual is free and clear of any financial problems. There are individuals that maybe have gotten in trouble for whatever, fraudulent activity, embezzling. Yes, it happens. You don't want to be caught up in it. You want to make sure that you are handing your books, your records over to someone that you like, know, and trust. So do your research. When someone comes to me and they ask for referrals, I don't just have a template of list of the same ones. I just go to whoever just pops to pops up, and I give them those individuals because I don't have anything to hide. I want my clients to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want them to know if I made a mistake, how did I course correct it? What did I do for that client? And I don't just leave a client hanging. I give my clients 150% customer service. If a client has a tax audit, what I'll do, and I'm talking about specifically taxes, I don't leave them hanging. I want to find out what the reasoning is. What did we do? What was it? Something that was a error in our organization, or was it just simply, they got flagged and the IRS is auditing them for whatever reason? But these are all critical things that you want to investigate and check before you make that decision. Am I ready to release my books from a bookkeeper over to a CPA, or do I want to maintain them with the bookkeeper? Now, as a bookkeeper, there are certain things that one cannot do that a CPA can, as far as representation and represent you, whether it's with the IRS or you're going through an audit with State Board of Equalization or any agency. So those are things that you want to consider as well. What is the knowledge? Will they be able to represent me should I need them to, et cetera, et cetera?
Now, you mentioned the auditing, whether we do the taxes ourselves or we hire someone else to do it. Once we file our taxes, how long should we keep that documentation?
You're required to keep your documents for your supporting documentations for 3 to 5 years. 3 years is typically the max that the IRS will go back and audit any of your books. However, if the IRS deemed that there is fraudulent activity associated with the taxpayer, then they can go beyond the 3 years. I've had individuals that have come to me to represent them in audit situations, and the IRS did go beyond the 3 years. They went back 7 years to audit, and in this particular situation, it turned out to be a fraudulent matter in which it was escalated to the fraud investigation department with the Internal Revenue Service. So they went back several years on this particular client and investigated them, as well as the preparer who was doing their returns at that particular time. Yeah, and I mean, you don't want to ever get in that situation because, long story short, and I'll just fast forward to the end result, they could have did jail time. And unfortunately, or fortunately, they did not get jail time. They were assessed with a 75% fraud penalty. So if they owed 100,000, you tack on a 75% penalty, they ended up on 175,000. Keeping in mind that that was just with the Internal Revenue Service. If you are in a fraud audit or any type of audit, let's just say with the Internal Revenue Service, it will head over to your state agency as well, because the numbers have to tie. Whatever you submit to the IRS goes over to the state. So you will get a due bill from the state as well.
Wow. Oof. Oh, right. File them taxes, people. File those taxes honestly.
Honestly, integrity. Yes, it doesn't pay to cheat. Everything you do in the dark comes to light. So, don't do it. And that's another thing, the get rich quick scams that we see with tax preparers and the taxpayers. Don't do it, you guys. It's not even worth it.
Yeah, don't take anyone's social security number trying to get more money.
No. And that, speaking of taxes and what's happening right now, for those of you who don't know, they initiated or implemented the PATH Act. And part of, or one of the initiatives with the PATH Act was to hold tax returns that had earned income credit, child tax credit, or additional child tax credit. And that is simply because people was going out buying social security numbers, using the security guard as a dependent, using the dogs as dependents, and so on and so forth. But they were using fraudulent dependents on their tax returns, thus getting back additional refund money, thus taken away from the government, thus having an impact on the rest of the taxpayers that are doing the right thing. So that's why funds were held this year, because they implemented additional measurements to prevent fraud. In addition to that, as tax preparers, we are held accountable should we put any fraudulent information in the return. And what they've done this year is we have to certify and verify that, in fact, the dependent is truly the taxpayers. If it is found that they are not, then we may be subject to a penalty up to $510 for each fraudulent or erroneous credit that we allowed in a return.
This is why you hire professional knowledge.
Exactly. Exactly.
Current knowledge.
Exactly.
No, but I have a coworker going through some things with their taxes. Their refund check is being held. It's probably been 3 weeks now, and they went back 5 years, and he's really upset. But from what you explained, from what I know on the surface, matched with what you explained, there's a lot of answers in that. So I'm gonna definitely tell him, like, hey, you need to listen to this episode specifically.
So his return is being held and they're going back and auditing 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have some ideas as to why, but everything you said makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you believe in good debt versus bad debt, or debt is debt?
There is some good debt and bad debt, but really debt is debt, because it all in the long run, we are a score when it comes to our FICO score. When it comes to obtaining credit, we are viewed based upon that number, and that number is predicated based upon our history, our spending patterns, our payment patterns, the type of debt that we have, whether it's mortgage, whether it's credit cards, whether it's loans. So there is still good debt, bad debt. It depends on how one is looking at it and how they're interpreting it. But again, Michelle, I'm gonna say, we're just a number. We're a credit score. And that's how we're looked at, truly. And those credit scores can vary depending on who is running the score, whether it's, which bureau. That's when I mean who's running the score. But one thing that we can also be tricked by when we think about our score is that, let's say we go in to buy an auto loan, the auto industry picks up a different score than, say, Equifax, TransUnion, or I can't even think of the other one. The 3 major credit bureaus, they're going to pick up a different score, and it's going to look, it's usually higher than what we see with the 3 major credit bureaus. So it's good debt, bad debt, but it depends on what our long-term goal is and what we're after.
Right. So, of course, there's other factors that play a part in that.
Yes. Because a student loan, in my personal opinion, it was good debt at the time, but then it turns into bad. So depending on how long that's on your credit report and the balance is lingering, it could be bad debt. But then again, it plays into that score, and because the score is a mixture of credit. So, then it's good debt, because it helps with the different scores, the various types of credit that we need.
Do you think one should pay off all of their debt or the majority of their debt before they start investing outside of a 401k?
Yes, before you start investing, yes. Now, I do believe that you should be paying off debt and saving. And the reason why I believe in saving, not investing, those are 2 different things for those of you who are listening and maybe you're not quite sure. But investing is putting money away for future benefit, for growth. Saving is putting away for an emergency. I read an article not long ago, and it said the average American or the average consumer cannot gather or come up with $2,000 in a 30-day period for an emergency. And that's pretty sad. So that's why I say pay off the debt and save, because you want to save for an emergency. I just had my car repaired yesterday. It was $1,035. Now, if I didn't have anything saved and I was paying off debt, where was I going to take it from? That would mean that I would have to take away from my household expenditures that I pay every month, which means I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul and I'm getting behind in the hole. So I believe pay off your debt, but still save a little. Save for those emergencies. If you try to pay off debt and invest, it's not going to be good because the debt has high interest rates and you're just still paying more money towards interest on that debt. But if you pay it at a faster pace instead of trying to invest, you can pay it off faster and then begin to take the extra money that you have your disposable income and put it into some investment vehicles.
Right. And that makes sense because one thing I've done recently, I lined up all of my credit card payments, my monthly payments, plus my total. I was not happy with those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Michelle, you need to get to work because those payments monthly payments can easily roll over into my saving. And trust me, when I get to that point, it's going to be a substantial difference. And then I was kicking myself because like, Michelle, you know better. You know better.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also when we're paying off debt, there's two different methods. Some people prefer to pay the higher balance first, and some people, they want that instant gratification and they want to see the amount of debtors start decreasing, and some go with the higher interest rate. So it depends on you. It depends on what makes you happy. For me, it's about being debt free. It's about just really getting rid of all of it. I would probably be paying down the higher interest rate. I don't care if I have something that's 250. I'm going to take the higher interest rate because it is going to still accumulate. It's still debt. You're not getting rid of that debt. So do the higher, in my opinion, take the ones with the higher interest rate.
All right, thank you. When it comes to business, a lot of us are starting up. We're in a startup culture now. I think it might be phasing out pretty soon, but you hear a lot of people like they're raising money to start their business from GoFundMe pages all the way to Silicon Valley, right? And then of course there's a traditional means of just a bank, going to the bank hoping to get a business loan and all these type of things. But once again, going back to documentation, what are some of these things that a business owner should have in place if they do feel like they need to go get a loan from their bank or any other type of lending source?
Good question. Good question. So, one thing that I like to hit home on, and this is where a lot of business owners fail. Number one, you want to have a business plan. And I'm not saying anything that's really massive or mind-boggling. And what is it that I mean by that? I mean just a one page. Your mission, your target market, your plans for revenue strategies. Who are you targeting? Your threats, your opportunities, something that's really brief. It doesn't have to go into a 10, 15 page plan, something that just, it tells the story and it's very brief. Other things that you want, if you're going for funding to use our traditional methods, you want to make sure that you have your profit and loss statement. And I think we touched on this, profit and loss. What does profit and loss mean? Profit is, of course, all of your income, the income that your business is generating. Your loss, let me say that again. Profit, the income less your expenses, your overhead expenses, your payroll, your advertising, your office supplies, your automobile supplies. You take your income less your expenses, you come up with your income. The bank wants to see that. The bank will want to see a period of time. They will probably want to see the last 3 years. If you don't have last 3 years, then they will also look at projections. Where are you going? Maybe a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. They want to look at your balance sheet. Your balance sheet will indicate your assets, your liabilities. Who do you owe? What assets do you have on the books? What can we convert to readily to cash? What can we liquid? What does your receivables look like? And when we talk about receivables, I'm talking about who owes you money. So if, the bank wants to see, well, if we give you this loan, who can we go to collect money should we need to? Which customers owe you money? Which assets do you have on your book? How, do you have lots of inventory that we can sell should we need to, should you default on the loan? They're looking at all these things, your working capital. And maybe some of this is foreign for some of you that are listening, but these are just the things that the bank looks for. You know, business plan, your statements, your statement of cash flow, your balance sheet, and your profit and loss statement. They want to look at the current year or where you're at year to date and probably the last 3 years. So where I would like to say what I would like to say as well as that what build a relationship with your bank, you all. I recently did an article for Black Enterprise on it, and it's critical. I had a client that say that he had an opportunity to have Drake at one of his events this past Christmas, and he said he didn't move on it because he didn't have the funding. He needed to put up a large security deposit. And I said, why didn't you go to the bank? He said he didn't have a relationship with his banker. I don't care how small you are, how large you are, you all build that relationship. The banker will be your go-to person when you want to get the loan. The banker will be the person who will provide you with advice and tips on what you need to do, the strategies that you need to do, that you need to change before you submit your paperwork to the loan officer for funding so that you're not denied or you're not delayed. Build that relationship. I don't care if you have $2,000 in your bank. Get to know them. You want to be the person that when you walk through the doors is, hi, Miss White, how you doing? And you want the checkers, hi, Miss White, hi, Miss White. And I'm serious. That's the relationship you want. You want so that should something fraudulent be happening with your account or a check is returned, you want to be able to call them up and say, hey, blah blah blah, or I have this check coming through, can you watch for it, let me know when it clears, or I sent my whoever to the bank and they don't have an account with you guys, so don't charge them any fees. You want that
It's
relationship.
true. And relationships are currency.
Exactly, the new currency.
I want us to focus on. I want you to give me some advice, right? Give me and my
Mhm.
audience some advice pertaining to legacy. Because a lot of us were in our late 20s, early 30s, and we're going through a lot of transitions where maybe we're out of grad school, still in corporate, maybe want to start a business. We're getting married, having children, buying houses. Our parents are getting older. It's like all of these responsibilities that are hitting us between, I'll just say 28 to 35. But I'm starting to realize at the age of 34 that legacy is becoming more and more important.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Mhm.
how do I manage? Because all of this takes money, right? In
Mhm.
some form, whether it's the monthly life insurance payment, trying to get
Mhm.
this, starter home, ideal home. What advice do you have for that 30-year-old person that is just trying to manage all of these transitions, making sure they have their money right? And I'll just leave it at that because there's so many
Okay,
things.
that's a good question, and as you're asking the questions, I'm thinking back to my 30s, and I say to all of you that are really listening, and I like to be transparent and I like to be open, right there at that 20. I think I was probably around 29 to maybe 34. That's when I got into financial problems, and I'm one that can say I can walk the walk and talk the talk. And that's when I got into my financial problems. And I think with today's 30-year-olds, the late 20s, early 30s, you all are making more money than we were making back in the day, and you have a lot more flexibility in things. The key thing to all of you that are listening to me is make sure that if you are on a job and you're making a decent income, please please, 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 and I see it because I see it on W-2s and whatnot. Make sure that you are taking advantage of the organization that you work for. Make sure that you're taking advantage of their 401k plan. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, "Oh, I'm young. I got a long time before I retire." And you do have some time on you, but I'm going to tell you, time creeps up on you, and before you know it, you'll be 42, and then you'll be hitting that 50 range. And once you hit that 50 range, your mindset is going to drastically change, and but you don't want to be in a situation where you're in a catch up mode. You're trying to catch up for what you could have done in your late 20s and your 30s, but you were out having a good time. Okay? Do a budget, you all. A budget is critical. If you live by a budget is a roadmap. Just like you get in a car and you go to a sporting event and maybe it's an hour away and you're not quite sure where it's at, you will Google it, you will use your navigation, you will write down directions, whatever tool you'll use. A budget is the same way. It will be your roadmap. It will tell you where to go. It will allow you to you guide your money and not your money guide you. So if you're trying to save for a home, you're trying to save for a wedding, you are, at that point where, you're going through life changes. You're going to have to strategically start planning, and you're going to have to strategically start putting away. If you are building a future with a life partner, then the two of you have to be on the same page and you both have to start saving. When we talk about, you said leaving a legacy, how is it that we leave a legacy? You guys are at the right age to start doing it. If you're in your late 20s, early 30s, start now. It's no better. It's no better time. It's no better time. And leaving a legacy, whether it's life insurance, whether it's whatever legacy it may be, whether it's property, start now. You guys start thinking about it now. So I don't know if I actually answered the question per se, but um, you just got to be diligent. You have to be disciplined. You have to take personal accountability, and you have to do it now. And I really mean that. Do it now, not tomorrow.
No, that was great. I do want to backtrack a little bit because this is something I've preached throughout the years, and I kind of have friends look at me crazy. Of course, we have our 401k or retirement plans with our employers. And then lots of times under that, of course, we get the medical insurance, all that stuff. And then I see a lot of people that get life insurance under their employer. And I want to say something else, but I can't think of it. I believe it's important to have life insurance with your employer as well as outside of your employer. So how much can you speak to that? And what are some of the other things we should probably have that our employer offers us, but maybe we should have it outside of them as well?
Excellent question, because first of all, life insurance with your employer is only going to cover you if you're injured on that job. If a limb falls off or if something, then they will pay whatever the premium is or the life insurance, the value of the policy. So let's say that it's 200,000. That's what they're going to pay your family, but that's only if you are injured on the job. So let's say you at home, you have a heart attack. You don't have a life insurance policy because you didn't have that heart attack at work. You wasn't sitting at that desk and you wasn't stressed because they're asking you to, do this and do that. So that's you're in trouble. You're leaving your family with nothing. So the time is now to really implement or put a life insurance policy in place. The thing that I hear people say is, why do I need a life insurance policy? I don't have anything. If you are married and you have a young son or daughter, or you have two, you have something. You want to make sure that your spouse has the income coming in that he or she was accustomed to getting when you were here with us. You want to make sure that your children are set for some period of time. So you do have something. You may not have what you call assets, a home or anything like that, but you have something that you need to work towards putting in place, and that's called a life insurance policy. That life insurance policy, the next thing you want to make sure is a living trust. Again, a living trust. People say, oh, I don't have no kids. I don't have this. I don't have that. A living trust will guide whomever you leave in charge, your administrator, your executor. It will allow them to say, hey, Cozette passed, and in her will, her living trust, she said she wanted to give this home to this person, this home to this person. Her 401k funds, she wanted them dispersed in this manner. She said do not give her 401k funds to the children until they reach 28. So who's going to hold the funds until the kids turn 28? She's listed that. It's again, it's your wishes. It's a guide. It will also eliminate the headaches that your loved ones will go through if everything is turned over to the state and things get held up with the state, and then the state disperses things and distributes things how they choose to. So it's again, it's planning, and it's planning, and I can't say it anymore. It's planning. So you also want to decide if you are medically ill, who's going to make the decision to say, okay, pull the plug. You say it's next in kin, but it may not always be that way. Who's going to make the decision over my finances if I'm not in a sound, stable mind to make those decisions? Yes, you may be in your 20s, you may be 34, but never take life for granted, because anything can happen to you at 34, at 54, at 64, 74, or at 94. My grandmother is 98. So, anything can happen to us at any time, but we as people, we take life for granted. So think about that, you all. It's not a preach. I'm not trying to preach to you, but I am just speaking things that really we as folks need to consider in life.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I've been out of the industry for a couple of years, so I really enjoy this conversation.
And thank you. And if you do it now, the premium is a lot less than if you wait till you're 40, 50 to do it. And the other thing that you might want to consider or should consider is that anything can happen to us. Just say you come down with cancer. You're not going to be able to get that policy. You can come down with some type of illness that prevents you from getting it. Get it now while you're healthy and things are going right in your life, and you don't have nothing to worry about.
I got my first life insurance policy, I think, when I was 24, and I was paying like $8 or $9 a month. Unfortunately, fell through hard times. I let it lapse. But I picked up a policy again, and I'm paying less than $25 a month.
And that's not bad.
It's affordable, people.
It is affordable, but see, what happens is that's one of those things that families usually let go first when they're in a financial pickle. And then life matters happens, and it was, oh, we had to let it go because of this. But try to hold on to it, you all. Try, and that goes back to the question of legacy. Our counterparts, that's how they do it. They have these insurance policies, and when they pass, their kids and their grandkids have a jump start because they were able to invest in an insurance policy. And who got paid when Papa died, or who got paid when Grandma Susie passed? Everybody got a portion of that life insurance policy. A jump start into a business, a jump start into buying that home, a jump start, a legacy again.
Look, I could talk to you all day. What do you have coming up? What are you working on right now?
That's such a good question, and thank you for asking me. Yes, because I could talk too, but I'm really excited, Michelle. My book will be released. The virtue launch is happening on the 15th of March. And hopefully, I'll have an opportunity to post it on your page and with your community and with your tribe. But the virtue launch is March 15th, and the actual launch of the actual book is April 1st. And the book is called Attracting the Best Now. It's all about wealth, prosperity, and abundance in your life now. And it's 30 plus days of money, wealth, and prosperity affirmations. And where did I get them from? When I was going through bad times, I would always do affirmations. And on my Cozette M White Facebook page and any social media page, I would always post my affirmations. And people started liking them and commenting on them, et cetera, et cetera. So I took my affirmations and I broke them down what they mean from a biblical standpoint. So when we think about wealth, what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about prosperity and abundance? And so that's what my book is all about, attracting the best now. I'm really excited about it. I started on it in 2013. I put it down, picked it up, put it down, picked it up, and I finally finished, you guys. So the baby will be born. The baby will be kicked out April 1st. So yes. And then, Michelle, I have a tour going on. The tour is Up Level Intensive Weekend. We kick off after tax season. Right after tax season, I'm kicking off. I'm going to Mobile, Alabama. Then we'll come back to Los Angeles, Cleveland, Ohio, Alexandria, Virginia, Houston, Texas, New Orleans, and we wrap up things in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it's for those business owners, for anyone who's out there. Maybe you're brand new, maybe you're struggling, maybe you're stagnant, and maybe you're just not sure. You need some guidance, but it's all about providing proven strategies for growing your business, for improving your bottom line. It's a 2-day event, and I'd love to see all of you that are listening. I'd love to see you in the house. And you can find out all about the tour at uplevelintensiveweekend.com.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Well, Dr. White, you have blown me away today. Just thank you for taking the time to educate, reinforce a lot of these things, not just to me, but to the audience as a whole. And it's like, man, I just feel like I got some homework. I need to get some homework to do, need to get back on it. And just making sure I'm taking care of everything, and especially my taxes, and making sure that I have those systems in order. So thank you for just your knowledge and being generous with this information. You are appreciated. A couple more things. You've given us a lot of information. I'm going to have your book and the website, and especially that article. If you can send me that article for Black Enterprise, I'll have all of that in the show notes. You're also on Facebook, Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
Under Cozette M White. You can find me on any or most, let's just say most social media platforms under Cozette M White. And then the website is www.myfinancialhome. And the one thing that I love about the website is that it will take you to our subsidiaries. It'll take you to White Tax Services, and it also takes you to my personal page. So again, that is my www.myfinancialhome.
All right, awesome. And Dr. White, how do you define success?
That's a very good question. Let's just say knowledge is power, and just continuous growth. Personal growth is what I'm going to say, through personal growth. And network collaboration and connection, you guys, that is key. It is so powerful. It really, really is. So that's how I will define success.
All right. I love it. Knowledge is power, but let's apply it, right? All of this financial information, tools, resources that Dr. White has given us today. Let's make sure that we have those conversations with ourselves, have that conversation with our partner, and most importantly, that we execute on this information. That way we can create the legacy for our family and friends. Thank you, Dr. White. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Personal connection leads to an influential network. Thanks for networking with Michelle.